Hello everybody, welcome to the second last chapter of Fantastic Mr. Fox. Can you believe it? We're almost at the end of the story. Now, previously, they'd broken into Bean's cellar where they found cider. It was all very exciting, but the woman came down to collect the cider and it was all very tense for a while, but thankfully, Badger, Mr. Fox, and small little fox, managed to escape. So they're back in the tunnel. Let's see what happens. Strap in. It's quite a long chapter. Okay, so make sure you're sitting comfortably. Back in the tunnel, they paused so that Mr. Fox could brick up the hole in the wall. He was humming to himself as he put the bricks in place. I can still taste that glorious cider, he said. What an impudent fellow rat is. That's a good word to look up, impudent. Maybe you could do that at the end. You can pause the video now even. Just Google it. Define impotent. Good one. He has bad manners, Badger said. All rats have bad manners. I've never met a polite rat yet. And he drinks too much, said Mr. Fox, putting the last brick in place. There we are. Now, home to the feast. They grabbed their jars of cider and off they went. Mr. Fox was in front. The smallest fox came next and Badger last. Along the tunnel they flew, past the turning that led to Bunce's mighty storehouse, past Boggs's chicken house number 1, and then up the long home stretch towards the place where they knew Mrs. Fox would be waiting. Keep it up, my darlings, shouted Mr. Fox. We'll soon be there. Think what's waiting for us at the other end. And just think what we're bringing home with us in these jars. That ought to cheer up poor Mrs. Fox. Mr. Fox sang a little song as he rang. Home again swiftly I glide, back to my beautiful bride. She'll not feel so rotten, and soon she's gotten some cider inside her inside. That's hard to say. Should I do that one again? Home again swiftly I glide, back to my beautiful bride. She'll not feel so rotten as soon as she's gotten some cider inside her inside. That's like a tongue twister. I think you should pause and have a go at that one yourself. You should give it a go. Right, we've got then Badger joined in. Badger, I need to do it with Badger's voice as well. Oh, poor Mrs. Badger, he cried. So hungry she very near died, but she'll not feel so hollow if only she'll swallow some cider inside her inside. It's a fun one too, isn't it? Again, pause it. See if you can do that one. Ooh. They were still singing as they rounded the final corner and burst in upon the most wonderful and amazing sight any of them had ever seen. The feast was just beginning. A large dining room had been hollowed out of the earth, and in the middle of it, seated around a huge table, were no less than 29 animals. They were Mrs. Fox and 3 small foxes. Mrs. Badger, and 3 small badgers. Mole, Mrs. Mole, and 4 small moles. Rabbit and Mrs. Rabbit, and 5 small rabbits. Weasel and Mrs. Weasel, and 6 small weasels. 29. The table was covered with chickens and ducks and geese and hams and bacon, and everyone was tucking into the lovely food. The table was... Oh, sorry, I've already read that, eh? My darling, cried Mrs. Fox, jumping up and hugging Mr. Fox. We couldn't wait. Please forgive us. Then she hugged the smallest fox of all, and Mrs. Badger hugged Badger, and everybody hugged everybody else. Amid shouts of joy, the great jars of cider were placed upon the table, and Mr. Fox and Badger and the smallest fox sat down with the others. You must remember, no one had eaten a thing for several days. They were ravenous. It's a good word, ravenous. It means you're really, really hungry. So for a while, there was no conversation at all. There was only the sound of crunching and chewing as the animals attacked the succulent food. At last, Badger stood up. He raised his glass of cider and called out, A toast! I want you all to stand and drink a toast to our dear friend who has saved our lives this day, Mr. Fox. To Mr. Fox, they all shouted, standing up and raising their glasses. To Mr. Fox, long may he live. Then Mrs. Fox got shyly to her feet and said, I don't want to make a speech. I just want to say one thing, And it is this: my husband is a fantastic fox. Yeah. What some of you'll say, eh? Everyone clapped and cheered. Then Mr. Fox himself stood up. This delicious meal, he began. Then he stopped. In the silence that followed, he let fly a tremendous belch. There was laughter and more clapping. This delicious meal, my friends, he went on, is by courtesy of Messrs. Boggis, Bunce, and Bean. More cheering and laughter. And I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have. He let fly another colossal belch. Colossal means huge. Better out than in, said Badger. Thank you, said Mr. Fox, grinning hugely. But now, my friends, let us be serious. Let us think of tomorrow and the next day and the days after that. If we go out, we will be killed. Right? Right, they shouted. We'll be shot before we've even gone a yard, said Badger. Exactly, said Mr. Fox. But who wants to go out anyway? Let me ask you that. We are all diggers, every one of us. We hate the outside. The outside is full of enemies. We only go out because we have to get food for our families. But now, my friends, we have an entirely new setup. We have a safe tunnel leading to 3 of the finest stores in the world. We do indeed, said Badger. I've seen them. And you know what this means, said Mr. Fox. It means that none of us need ever go out in the open again. There was a buzz of excitement around the table. I therefore invite you all, Mr. Fox went on, to stay here with me forever. Forever? They cried. My goodness, how marvellous. And Rabbit said to Mrs. Rabbit, my dear, just think, we're never going to be shot again in our lives. We will make, said Mr. Fox, a little underground village with streets and houses on each side. Separate houses for badgers and moles and rabbits and weasels and foxes. And every day I will go shopping for you all, and every day we will eat like kings. The cheering that followed this speech went on for many minutes. Just above there, you can see Mr. Fox standing with his glass of cider, giving his toast, giving his speech. Now, I'm going to park that there. There's a lot we could talk about as we come towards the end of this book. We're not finished yet. There's one more chapter. But I want to go back and look at those wee songs that Mr. Fox and Badger were singing. They're called limericks. Limericks. They're a type of rhyme or a type of poem. I want you to look at the first one, the first paragraph there. Home again swiftly I glide, back to my beautiful bride. She'll not feel so rotten as soon as she's gotten some cider inside her inside. It's difficult to say at the end. What I'd like you to do is look at those 5 lines. Can you spot any words that rhyme? Where are those words on the line? And is there like a structure or a pattern to the way they rhyme? Have a wee look. Right, here's what I see. At the end of the line are the rhyming words. We've got glide, bride, and inside at the end. Then we've got rotten and gotten. Right, have a look at the one below. Or, oh, poor Mrs. Badger, he cried, so hungry she very near died. But she'll not feel so hollow, if only she'll swallow some cider inside her inside. Can you spot those rhyming words? Where are they on the line? Do they follow a pattern? I will pause the video, have a wee look. Well, what I see is this. Cried, died, inside. All rhyme. Inside's maybe a bit of a funny one, but they do rhyme. And then we've got hollow and swallow. Now look at the pattern of those limericks. Do they match? Do they have the same rhyming pattern? They do. All limericks have what we call an AABBA pattern. The first, the second, and the last line all rhyme. Glide, bride, inside. And then your third and fourth lines They rhyme, but they're different rhyming words. So we've got rotten and gotten. Rotten doesn't rhyme with glide or bride, but it does rhyme with gotten. So that's the structure of a limerick. AABBA is what we sometimes call it. Let me clear my throat like Mr. Fox, sorry. And so, our learning intention today is to create a limerick. And the task is to create a limerick that would be sung by any of the characters in Fantastic Mr. Fox. Could be Rat, could be Bogus, could be Bunce, could be Bean, could be the woman, could be the weasels, could be the rabbits, could be the small foxes, could be Mr. Fox, could be Mrs. Fox. She was getting the dinner already, could be getting the feast already, could be anyone you want. So for success criteria, you need to choose a character from the story. You can choose whoever you want. Then, looking at our last lesson that Mr. Noble put together for us, you need to consider how would they be feeling at the end of the story. You need to empathise with them. That means think about how they're feeling. It links to global goal number 3, health and well-being. Then, once you've done that, chosen a character, think about how they're feeling at the end, then you need to use that limerick structure of AABBA to create a limerick. And once you've done it, here's the fun part. I'd like you to perform it with expression. That means using loud, soft, quick, slow, all those things, to someone in your home. Mum, dad, brother, sister, carer, granddad, whoever's with you. Okay? If you want to post it to Teams, even better. Post a wee performance. I'd love that. And if you think it's quite easy, I can do one. Can you do two? Maybe you could do one for each of the 3 farmers. How would they feel? Could you empathise with them? Sitting outside, hearing that things have gone missing from their farms. What about Rat? We're empathising with him in the last lesson. The small foxes. How are they feeling? Mrs. Fox. Building on when we're talking about gender equality and all that, might she have some other things to say? I don't know. Maybe she would. Lots of different things there. Okay, so create a limerick. Good luck. I will see you back here for the final chapter of Mr. Fox.